Okay, first preseason in the books, and there's a few guys that stood out to me in preseason game number 1. Had a little time now to kind of let it sink in, and there's a couple guys: Brodric Martin, Brian Branch, Jameer Gibbs. Right, those guys just look the part. That you're like, yeah, it's going to be good. And then to see a couple other guys pop, and the guy that we're going to talk about today popped a little bit, and you're like, hey, that's not so bad. So there's an unknown player that I know we were excited about or kind of intrigued about when we first picked him up, and now kind of forgot about him. Hadn't really seen his name much in training camp, but then did some good things in preseason game number 1, and Dan Campbell had a lot of good things to say about him as well. But let me know in the comments right now, who did you like in preseason game number 1? Who stood out to you? Like I said, for me, it was Brian Branch. I've really been excited to see this guy because he is firmly in the starting role. He is going to be a starting defensive back for us. So that means that CJ Gardner-Johnson's going to safety. Tracy Walker's kind of gotten bumped out as of right now. A lot of time to go, and those guys will all rotate in and stuff. But Brian Branch is the absolute truth. And we were all excited when we got him. Like, yo, he's in there. But the Alabama guys and some of these powerhouse colleges kind of mess me up at times because they're so good that you don't know if it's just a product of, Alabama. They got so many good guys around them. I want to see it and believe it for myself. So see Brian Branch, yes, he's the truth. He's great. He should have been taken in the first round. We're lucky to have him. Love it all. But the guy I'm talking about is Chase Cota out of Oregon. So thing about him is he's bigger than you might think. I think he's 6'4", 200 pounds. So I thought he was more of a little scat guy, but he's a bigger guy. And so he had an opportunity to catch, I think, he didn't have a ton of catches, but he had 4 catches for 60 yards. But it was more interesting of what Dan Campbell had to say after the game. So he's like, hey, so that's Chase Cota talking. And then Dan Campbell said, makes me want to give him more reps. Let's bump him up a little, get him a little better group, a little better competition, and let's see where he can go. So he's rising up the depth chart. Let's get him in. Let's find out what he can do against better competition, but also better players. Like, let's like with Goff. Like he's out there starting with Goff against better competition. I don't know if Goff's going to play this preseason. We'll see, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. So Cota has an opportunity because we keep talking about it. In that receiver room, we've got a great receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then after that, we got an older Marvin Jones. It's like you kind of, the wide receiver group is not solidified yet, especially with Jameson Williams being suspended for 6 games. So we need a couple guys to step up and maybe do something. So let's go. So Chase Cota said the starters aren't in. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get all the opportunities possible in this game. Let's try to make the most of it. And I'm just glad the ball came my way a few times. So it was really encouraging to see Chase Cota make some plays because he's a guy that was productive, had an opportunity to do some really good things. We pick him up as an undrafted free agent, didn't get drafted. And when we did that, it was like, hey, he started looking into him. He's productive, good size. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's roll. And so I love the fact that Chase Cota's got an opportunity to maybe do something on this team because, again, we need that wide receiver to make something happen. So Campbell has been impressed by the attributes Cota has shown throughout camp, but even more so now that he's been able to translate that to a game situation. And that's the big key, right? We keep talking about these guys that are doing well in camp and drills and all that, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to take it into the game and do something. So to see what's his name? Can't think of his name. The guy that took the punt return back. He's a guy that I like. But it's like, man, at the end of the day, you got to make it happen. And he took a 95-yard punt return back. That's the type of stuff. Alexander, that's the type of stuff that we love seeing. So here's what Dan Campbell said as well. I would say he's the quiet sleeper because I think he's done some things that every day it's positive, but it's just kind of right under the radar. It's more like the guy really doesn't mess things up, and then today he shows up and makes these plays to catch your eye. So he's got that like high floor type of thing. He's not going to do anything crazy, not going to make a terrible mistake, but he's also not popping off the page. But he actually had an opportunity to do that and did that in game number 1, preseason game number 1. So when you get a guy who's where he's supposed to be, he's accountable, he can really play all the positions, and now he's making these plays, starting to produce, right? Like, there we go. Like, that's the kind of stuff we need. It's hard not to see it, so it was good to see. That's when these guys, particularly when they're talking about free agents, Dylan Drummond has had a really good camp, then Cota. So I am encouraged by the wide receivers. Didn't really know what we had in the wide receiver room. So let me know your thoughts in the comments with what comes to wide receivers, because I was starting to get a little I know that luckily Ben Johnson, we're going to be so creative and we're going to run the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs, don't forget about him. He's more of a weapon. He's a receiver as well too. So like, I don't want to lose sleep over the wide receivers, but at the same time, we need one more person to kind of emerge that we're not really talking about. So Tom Kennedy, thought, man, he's steady. He gets injured. So it's like, what is that receiver room going to look like? Is it Alexander? Is he more of a punt returner, kick returner, or can he play some? So I love Cota. I love to see that he's going to get more opportunities. Just keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on him as he's going to get more opportunities to play and do some good things with the Detroit Lions. And again, if you're new to our channel, we make videos about the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Pistons, but right now it's all Detroit Lions, as we're very excited for the future and what this season holds. Can't wait to see it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we will see all of you on the next one.